Hello everyone and welcome back to my scrappy place. I'm so glad you could join me this evening. It's time to do some stamping. A little bit of fun stuff tonight. A couple nights ago you saw that I made this particular card with our Painted Harvest stamp set. Well, tonight I want to show you that it's not only a fall and autumn type kind of stamp set, you can also make other stuff. So what we're going to do this evening is we are going to make this Christmas card. Isn't it so pretty? Not a sunflower, but a wreath instead. So we're going to make a little bit of a different variation on this card, but for the most part it's going to look pretty close. It's going to be blinged up a little bit because, as you know, I like my bling. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'll show you what we're going to use to make the card. First thing we're going to need is some garden green cardstock, obviously, and we're going to cut this at 4 1/4 by 11 1/2. So basically it's half of a sheet of an 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper, and we're going to score it on the long side at 5 1/2 so that our card will open up this way and sent kind of like a tent, because that's just kind of how I like my cards to go. The next piece that we're going to need is Whisper White. And we are going to cut 2 of these, because one's going to go on the inside and one's going to go on the outside, but it needs to be cut at 4 by 5 1/4. The next piece that we're going to use is our glimmer paper, red glimmer paper. I love this. So the way that this card is different is this red piece is going to go where this green is, and we're going to have a little bit bigger border so you can see more of the bling on it. So red glimmer paper. I'll have all the measurements on my blog, which I'll have a link to at the bottom down here. And then we're going to need a piece of Whisper White cut at 2 3/4 by 4, and this is the one we're actually going to do the stamping on. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, I guess we need to know what else I need. We're going to be using the Holly embossing folder. We're going to run that through the Big Shot, because what you may not be able to see it on this card, you can see it pretty good, is we've got this bottom piece here embossed, and it just makes it really pretty. So we're going to be using the Holly embossing folder. Of course, the Painted Harvest stamp set, we're going to be using the sunflower. We're not going to be using the middle, obviously, because we're not making a sunflower. We're going to make a wreath, and we're going to use the little dots here as the holly berries. And then for the sentiment, I am going to use the Snowflake Sentiments stamp set, and I'm going to be using this Merry Christmas. But if you look here, you'll see the stamp actually says Merry Christmas from our family to yours. But the card just says Merry Christmas. Well, how did I do that? I'll tell you how I did that. I tend to do surgery on my stamps. I am a nurse after all. I'm not a doctor, but this is basically the stamp set. It's kind of hard to see. I don't put the stickers on the back of mine, but what I did was I took my scissors and I just whacked off this bottom part. So I can just now have it say Merry Christmas, but if I want the part that says from my family to yours, all I have to do is just stick it back together, and there it is. So cool little trick I learned. So we're just going to be using the Merry Christmas. Okay, we're also going to be using some ribbon to tie on the a bow for the wreath, and that's pretty much it. So I've already cut the card base. You know, I always cut the card base ahead of time. So the first thing I need to do now is I need to emboss my white, and that is so simple. I'm just going to take my embossing folder, and all you do is put your piece of paper in here and you line it up and sandwich it in there. I'm going to bring the Big Shot into where you can see it now. And I'll zoom the camera out a little bit. Whoops, that's the wrong way. Zoom the camera out a little bit so you can see. And I just make a sandwich. I put my base on. I put a cutting pad. I put my folder in. And actually I did this backwards because I am right-handed, so let's get it to where I can crank it more easily. It'll work either way, but it's easier for me being right-handed. And I'm just going to run it through. Easy peasy, all there is to it. So let me move this out of the way. And I apologize. My little doggy is running through the house, so if you hear a tick, 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 it's her feet. So let's zoom back in to where we can see the card. Then you take it out of the folder. And there you go. Can you see how pretty that is? You can either use it on the emboss side where it's all up, or you could flip it over and use it on the deboss side. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to have this, the emboss side up. Alright, so I'm going to put that aside and let's go ahead and do our stamping. So the first thing I need to do is get my smaller piece of Whisper White and get my inks out. I forgot to take my inks again. I always do that. I always forget. So the inks I'm using today are Real Red, Garden Green, and Pear Pizzazz. The first thing I'm going to do is do my little sentiment on the bottom, because that's just what I like to start with. Helps me center it up a little bit better. And I apologize if the camera's shaking a little bit. So I'm just going to take my sentiment and I'm going to try and do this without getting my head in the camera. And right about there looks good. And it's pretty straight. So that works for me. So I'm going to put my red aside because I've been making a mess today already. Put that stamp aside. Now, on the video I did the other night, I talked about our photopolymer stamps and how this doesn't have padding like the red rubber ones do. And you see how the red rubber's got it's got like a cushiony. So I didn't have to have a cushion when I'm doing the stamping on that. But with the photopolymer, the clear ones, you don't have that cushion. So I need to bring in my piercing pad for a little bit of cushion on that. And the first one ink I'm going to use is with the bigger of the two stamps, because like I said in my earlier video, this is a two-piece stamp. So I'm going to do the bigger or the more solid stamp in Pear Pizzazz. And I talked about this last time. In order to line up the circle good, I have made a little mark right there on that, so I know which way both of my stamps need to go. So keeping in mind the dot is on this side, and in my lighter of the two, I am going to stamp right about there. And there we go. And yep, you're saying that didn't stamp right, it doesn't look right. Yes, it actually did. The stamp is made to be a kind of a watercolory effect, so this is how it is supposed to look, even though it may not look right to you. So you're good if it looks like this. Alright, I kept my dot on the left hand side, so I'm going to put the next stamp, keeping the dot right there. It is on the left hand side again. I'm going to go in the darker green, and I am going to line this up, and hopefully we won't have the green in the middle. I'm going to line up the centers the best I can, and I'm sorry if I get my head in the shot. I'm going to try not to. That looks pretty good. I'm going to press it down, straight up, and now I have a pretty leaf. Or wreath, not leaf. Wreath. Ah! Alright. That looks good. I'm going to let that dry for just a second. Put the green ink away. We're almost done with the stamping. I mean, this is a pretty simple card, and I'm thinking that you could probably make a whole bunch of these in a fairly quick amount of time, so long as you had all your cutting done ahead of time. Alright, and then I'm going to take my little dots that come with this. It's hard to see, but they're there, and I'm just going to place them randomly around the wreath using my Real Red ink. Right there, right there, and right there. Okay, and that part is done. And I didn't get myself too red. Earlier I kind of looked like I murdered somebody, but it's not too bad. Okay, so one of the last things I need to do with this is I need to tie a bow, and I'm using my Real Red 1/4" solid ribbon. I like this ribbon because it ties really easy. And I'm not the greatest at tying bows, but we'll give it a whirl on camera, see what happens. Like I said, it was feeling like fall. It's not now. It's close to 90 degrees outside. Certainly isn't feeling like Christmas, but Christmas season is going to be here pretty soon, and we're going to want to mail our Christmas card. I don't know about you guys, but I like to mail my Christmas cards at the 1st of December, which means I need to hurry up and get them made so that I can mail them at the 1st of December. Alright, I'm just trimming my bow here. And I'm going to use a mini glue dot. And I'm going to stick it, just stick it on the wreath. I'm going to kind of roll it up so it's not too sticky everywhere. And just put it on my card like that. Okay. And the next thing you need to do is adhere this piece to your glimmer paper. Now I'm going to tell you right now, glimmer paper is hard to get something to stick. It's hard to stick to it. I mean, that's all there is to it. You can use your fast fuse. It doesn't hold real well. You can use your snail adhesive. Again, it doesn't work real well. So what you need to do is you need to use the Tombow Mono Liquid Glue. This is the best stuff that there is. I don't know if you can buy it anywhere. We definitely sell it Stampin' Up. Obviously, if you're going to buy anything, please buy it from me. It helps me make more of these videos. But this glue won't make my paper warp when I put it on. It's got the right water ratio or something. I don't know. But it does take a little bit longer to dry. But through the magic of YouTube television, I've already got one stuck together here. So this one is already stuck on. I use the Tombow to stick it to the glimmer paper, and it's holding perfectly. Okay, so now it's time to put our card together. So let me move that out of the way. And our glimmer paper, by the way, it comes in a 12 by 12 sheet. It's kind of hard to get it all in here. Isn't it pretty? Oh my gosh, I love it. Pretty, pretty, pretty. Anyway, but that's how the glimmer paper comes. So you know. Alright, let's go back in and start putting our card together. So I'm going to take the piece that I embossed, and I am going to take my fast fuse, and I'm going to put some fast fuse on the back of this. And maybe in the middle as well. And all I'm going to do is center it up and stick it on like that. Okay. And now for the glittery piece, I like it to be popped up. That's just kind of how I am. I like things popped up. Something on my card popped up. I gotta have bling, and I gotta have a little bit of height to it, I guess you would say. So I'm going to take it and I'm going to put on dimensionals, and I'm not shy about using them. I've said 100 times before, I like my dimensionals. I have plenty of dimensionals, so I always use lots of dimensionals. Alright. Let's peel this last one off. It doesn't want to come off. And again, my little dog, she's running back and forth. That's Miss Maggie running back and forth, back and forth. So if you hear tiptoes, that's her. Alright, we're going to stick that down, and there we go, one perfect card. Now I didn't show this, but obviously I showed it in the other cards. We've got a dark green background on the inside. You could leave it this way if you wanted to. I always like to put a white piece that's the same size as the 4 by 5 1/4 on the inside. You can always stamp another saying in here, or you can just leave it blank like I usually do, so I can write what I want to say to whoever I send this to. But that's basically all there is to this card. Another spin on our fall card, make it into a Christmas card. If you like my videos, hit the subscribe button, which is down here. I will put a link again down here in the description to my blog, where I will have everything listed that I actually used. Link to my shopping site, the measurements to everything that I did on here. And I look forward to seeing you again. And I'm gonna say, here's my friend. Gotta show my friend. Randy the rat. If you know me, you get it. You understand. Randy's always here on my desk. So until next time, thanks for stopping by, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.